Recently, there was a pretty big city league inside of Tokyo, and there was a lot of telling results here with a lot of wall decks, a lot of Dragon Bolts do well. But if you look all the way here at the bottom of the last deck that made top cut, you'll see Ceruledge Iron Hands. This is a deck that intrigued me at first glance. It's like, oh, this kind of makes sense. It's replacing a lot of what the Palkia used to do, and it gave you an alternative attacker, and it gave you an alternative way of playing. I really like the Iron Hands in this deck because in the early game you can attach a lot of energies, use electric generators to ramp up to the Iron Hands, have him put up some early pressure, and then once the Iron Hands goes down, he's taking 4 energies down with him. So the electric generator is a pseudo way of drawing energies that will then allow you to discard them later, by letting the hands die or retreat. And Ceruledge will do a bunch of damage later on to the match, which is when that damage is going to be relevant. Anyways, this is a post-rotation list, so that means we get the extra benefit of playing cards, which means I don't have to succumb myself to playing River Room. So we're going to be playing this list here. Not much is different. I mostly just took out the River Room and Never Room to run a Radiant Greninja instead. That just made a lot of sense to me. And I decided to run the 4th Electric Generator just to give myself better consistent odds of aiding the Iron Hands. These were definitely some games. I suggest watching them all to see what happens. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment down below, subscribe, and enjoy the match. So this one was definitely a hell of a testing session. I probably played this deck 30 times a day, which I don't normally play decks as much, unless if it's something I'm thinking about building in person. Like with the Flareon deck, I didn't mind playing that deck a lot because I was going to buy the pieces in person for this. But this deck, just for some reason, decided to give me the wackiest games possible. There's so many games where normally I could consider this B-roll footage. I would have this as an in-between for another game to talk about, or throw at the very end of the game, or end of the video, so there's still stuff to talk about. But there was just so many almost non-games I have this deck where I either docked or didn't dock my opponent, or games that were really close I still didn't win. So it's So, I ended up climbing all the way to the Arceus rank with this. That said, I wasn't that far away. I was maybe 200, 300 points away. So, after getting 10 or so wins, you pretty much just automatically make it in there. So, yeah. I am playing against an opposing Ceruledge deck, which seems interesting. Basically, the whole game plan with this deck is that you want to be able to try to ramp onto your Iron Hands super early if you feel like it's a matchup where you get value out of it, which I do think that, there's a Lumineon, there's Radiant Greninja, it seems good. And I also need ways of actually ramping stuff out of my deck, so, that seems like a responsible choice. I will also say, out of any other deck I've ever played, I don't think I've ever gotten as much value out of Motivate as I have playing this deck specifically. The fact that you can just motivate and charge up your Iron Hands seems really scuffed, but sometimes just okay, well, I could take this slower play and set myself up to win an extra prize card on the next interaction, right? I do think that there is probably some merit in the River Room, even though if you ever see me play River Room, you should probably call the cops and try to find my location, because I would not play that card willingly. But you're so often with such a small hand size, and you have excess energies, being that this is Ceruledge, so having those extra energies and ways to draw can be kind of nice. So I wouldn't say it's entirely bad. I just found out when I was playing the deck is well, I'd rather have Greninja on the field most of the times, and I just play the deck a little bit more turbo, which is why I included the extra what's it called? Cannot remember the name of the card. The Electric Generator. There we go. And I do think there's some merit in this. I think there's all types of merits with Ceruledge, because Ceruledge is just so stocky in the late game. He only takes 1 energy, and he doesn't require anything else after you've done all your setup, which is so nice for you. My opponent's also gonna miss catchers here, by the way. Or, he is gonna hit a catcher, which is oh, well, that's weird. I feel you'd want to kill the Iron Hands, but I suppose he does not have enough cards in his discard or knock anything out, so he's just trying to get a prize, I guess. That'd be my only guess as to why he would do this, as he doesn't even get the knockout here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and retreat and take out the Lumineon with my boss's orders again. So I take all 6 prizes with Iron Hands this game. Crazy stuff. But yeah, we've already seen a lot of experimentation with Ceruledge. The most common partner is Palkia. I think this is just because it's the most aggressive and easiest one. You're already playing like a bunch of good water types. You might want like the Iron Bundle of the Radiant Greninja, and it gives you both the snipe option and the early aggressive option with the Palkia, and it also allows you to utilize Aerodot, right? But because it's a post-rotation deck, it's built slightly differently. Like, you have to consider like Pokestop or Radiant Greninja weren't considerations when this person is building this deck, which I think, you know, has some merit. I still wanted to try the whole Iron Hands thing, which is cool. Also, I think this Academy Knight is really cool. I think it's such a cool card, and I was utilizing this earlier in the year when I was playing Roaring Moon EX and Baby Moon. So I would use the Academy at Night to like stack Asanas on top of my deck, so my opponent could Iona past it, and so yeah, that's cool. And here I'm just using the stack of lightning energy to guarantee that my Electric Generator gets some additional value. There it didn't matter in that case because like I was gonna build to an extra energy anyways, but you know, it's still cool to have. And I'm in a decent-ish position. I don't think I get a knockout with my Charcadet, so I'm going to have to retreat here and probably attach the energy to my Iron Hands to knock it out, unless my opponent does something drastic, which, you know, there's always the possibility that they Iona me, try to get a further setup, but yeah. What else I would say? I think, like, some other partners for, like, Ceruledge that could come up is possibly, if we're talking about post-rotation, I do think, like, the Electric Generator stuff has some merit. I'd probably use it like Kilowattrel instead. So you could like Electric Gen on the Kilowattrel, or just stock an energy onto it for earlier, and then discard it for extra card draw. And I think it's better than River Room, because the issue with River Room, IMO, is that it doesn't play around Iono / Roxanne / Unfair Stamp very well, because you have to have another card in order to get your value out of it. And so it's good for discarding energy sometimes, especially when you're building your deck that, you know, Ultra Ball into it or whatever. But in most cases, you're running that type of like draw up the X draw, so you could either play A, low hand size, or B, so you can just what's it called? So you can actually get out of like those situations where the opponent is trying to brick you. And so like I think Rever really fails in that capacity because you can't guarantee that you have the energy unless you have a Pokemon that can like grab an energy, I suppose. But like at that point you're just getting too hefty into the combinations there. But I think like Iona's Kilowattrel, yeah, there's a real factor like, oh, you know, maybe I can attach a bunch of energies this way. Or, you know, stock a few energies onto my Kilowattrel this way with the Electric Generators, and then discard them for value later. And I think that would allow you to turbo out some more stuff, but, you know, this is my deck, so... my opponent ends up conceding there, just because, like, I got too far ahead of the Iron Hands. Really, like, that's kind of what it comes down to sometimes. Iron Hands takes 2 or 3 prizes, like, well, shit. My 1 prize advantage I had is now gone, and now I gotta fight Ceruledge in a late game, like, it just doesn't look good for people. Anyways, here's probably the worst played match I'll ever put into a YouTube game. I, like, am ashamed of how I play this match, but I managed to make the never punish decisions, I guess. My opponent also reveals Walking Wake, so I'm like, what the fuck? But also, that's kind of swag, right? You can't diss on the guy running fucking Walking Wake cloth. I do think, like, the deck is cool, and I've always wanted Walking Wake to work, but yeah. Here, we are going to Ultra Ball. Instead of Ultra Balling for Squawk, like, you know, a sane person, I see that I have an Electric Generator in my hand as like, ooh, and I get 1 energy off of it. So it wasn't really worth it. Not really, especially if you look at the rest of the situation that my hand is currently in. It's like, why the fuck did I do this? Why did I not just grab the Squawk, bro? My opponent's gonna Iona me and thankfully bail me out of that very trashy hand I left myself in. But, you know, I should have grabbed the Squawk, I suppose. And my opponent's going to go ahead and take the knockout here with the cloth here. Thankfully, I'm actually going to be able to knock out the cloth, which makes me happy, because I do not want to be dealing with this threat later on. I'd much rather just have the cloth dead and worry about some other problems. And I go ahead and research, get my stuff up. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do here, so I'm just going to go ahead and arm press, take the knockout here. And honestly, it's looking not that bad for me, because I could probably boss up the Squawkabilly, take 3 prizes, and set myself up back to be on an even prize trade. As long as he doesn't actually get the cloth back here, which, you know, he super runs it back in, only to drop Walking Wake onto the field. I'm guessing that he's doing this because he really needs to get card draw off the Mew, but he doesn't for some reason. And so now we're here. So you're thinking, oh, you can just attach the fucking energy, and then you can just boss up the Squawkabilly. But I decided Carmine like a fucking idiot. Jeez, what is wrong with me? And then even worse, I had a bundle here. My opponent could just go into Radiant Sneasler and not do anything about it. But it all pans out in the end because I just absolutely could not explain what the hell just happened here. My opponent gives me the Squawkabilly, which is the thing I was going to boss up anyways. Instead of giving me the Sneasler, I could have, even then, I should have just hit the fucking Mew, because Arm Press would have done 160, and it would have died to poison afterwards. Seriously, what is my problem here? Anyways, thankfully, because I have the Brilliant Blender, I'm just going to go ahead and get the Squawkabilly out of my deck. At this point, I have enough liabilities on my bench. Who cares that there's, an extra Squawk there? Maybe I use it later to discard something. And I just need a fire energy, so I try to trim out my whole deck and everything. And I'm just going to go ahead and get the knockout, get this game over with. Holy, this is so awfully played. I'm only putting it there because, how did I manage to, win that game? I guess I put it in there because there's still a lot of points that I could have talked about and what I should have done better, and it's okay. Sometimes you play 25 games, you're on massive tilt because most of the games that you're playing are completely obsolete, but here we go. Here's an hour hand start. I got this guy in my starting hand a lot. I don't know why he decided to show up this often, but he did. And my hand also doesn't look that great. Let's hope it has a Nest Ball or a Research. That'd be really nice because that would allow me to play the game. Opponent is playing Dragapult, and honestly, this is one of my least favorite matchups to play against this deck. I can't explain it, but they can just ignore most things and just proceed the game on their own. Anyways, I kind of just completely dismiss the notion of even attempting to go for R and hands this game. I don't want to put down a second hands. My hands is inactive. It's not looking good for me. And then I'm gonna go ahead with this Electric Generator because why wouldn't I? And now I'm gonna go ahead and Squawk. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a fire energy onto my Charcadet. I figure that this is probably fine because it doesn't look like my opponent has a great setup anyways. And so, at least in this case, I could guarantee I have my attack for next turn as long as he doesn't boss or do some wonky stuff. And he's not even going to rare candy and be able to protect himself, which is nice. We see the Badoo come down. He's going to attach a Psychic Energy to the Dracloak, get some insane value out of it as he hopes my hand has nothing in it. We're also going to see, Nest Ball. I presume it's for Rotom, but we're going to Nest Ball Luminion into Forest Steel Stone. Like I said, I just could not get, reasonable replays. Every game just, had the craziest, plays happening, and there was nothing normal about any of these games. I was going to Ultra Ball for Ceruledge, but I managed to draw it anyways, and thankfully we drew into the cool one, so that's rad. I'm just going to go ahead and kill the Dracloak that had 2 energies and Sparkling Crystal, and oh my goodness, what is even happening, guys? Why are we in this state? My opponent doesn't have anything going on for them. I would have gone to the Badoo and I blocked my opponent, but we're going to go ahead and sacrifice a little Minion instead. We're in Arceus rank, by the way. These people, had to grind out, somewhere between, 50 games to at least get here, right? It could have been less, it could have been more, but they had to play a lot of games in order to get into this rank, so I don't know what's happening to my opponents. I'm so lost. And he just passes. Maybe he's just over. Maybe he's also tilted and having a bad day. I go ahead and just give him the thumbs up because he's been throwing thumbs up at me. So, perhaps it is a sign of camaraderie or it's a sign of being tilted, which I understand. I'm fucking tilted. I spent all day playing this fucking deck and I'm still tilted. For real, for real. We start with the Charcadet here. Or, no, sorry, I'm going to start with the Iron Bundle here. And the reason for this is because of Petroret. So, if my opponent ends up, Petroret putting something up in the active, and poisoning me, I don't want to lose my Charcadet immediately, especially because, I might need that for the matchup. Here, though, I see all the lightning stuff, it's well, I'd rather lose my bundle than lose my Charcadet. Sometimes, I'll chance it and put it into the active, knowing that my opponent might be passive, but generally, I've been going second. And the only reason I've been going second is because I felt like it's been better. I can't tell you what the, correct choice is, but I really have been liking the ability to, play a Research instead of a Carmine, and to Electric Generator onto the what's it called, onto the Iron Hands. So I found it to be more consistent to go second, even though I think optimally you're supposed to go first, because you get to evolve and you get the extra turn to set up, and you also steal first from quite a few decks that like want to slow evolve right now. So honestly, I couldn't tell you what the perfect play was. Also, my Radiant Greninja's prize, just bad stuff going on all around. I do think about putting this Iron Hands down, and I do think I am going to, because I'd rather have the option to possibly Electric Generator to it, or maybe I hold on to it. It looks like I hold on to it. Still, it does not look like we are in a great position. I am very much hoping that the Carmine here is going to bail me out of it, or maybe flip the script. I do think that I have been seeing better results from using flip the script first before I use Carmine or research, only because getting energies in the discard is hard when you don't have Pokestop just turning 3 cards every turn. So I think drawing before you do your like researches and stuff seems suboptimal, because typically you're like, okay, well, I'm already planning to do this first. I'd rather see how many cards I get afterwards. But I think in this case, you want to do it the opposite way, where you use the flip the script first and then discard it afterwards, because it gives you a chance to see more energies and discard them, where discarded energies can be kind of difficult without like Ultra Balls and all this other stuff going on. Especially while my Greninja's prize, which normally you wouldn't even have in post-rotation format, where this deck was designed to be played for. My opponent is going to go ahead and do whatever it is they're doing over there. They definitely have a lot of guys, but they don't have a lot of energy on the field, and that makes me just a little bit happy. I also want to say, I think Flip the Script is slightly better in this scenario too, for one other reason, being that it possibly allows me to draw into a research, and I would definitely play a research over a Carmine if I'm able to. Sadly, we don't hit it, but I do get the Jamming Tower down, which means I'm able to bump away a bunch of my opponent's stuff, hopefully limiting their board state just a little bit. As they remove the Rhino and all the other stuff, which seems reasonable. It doesn't feel like any of that stuff is going to be super worthwhile here. And I am just going to go ahead and pull the other Charcadet out. I believe I'm also going to Ultra Ball and just grab the Iron Hands out. I don't put him down. I think just because I don't see any merit in it. But now that I've gotten the Raikou weakened, I think maybe there's a chance I put it down and motivate to it. Motivate on this attack here would be kind of strong. Because it would deny them from taking out my Ceruledge and putting me in an even shittier position. But here we are. Yeah, the game is still not that great for me, because I failed to kill the Raikou here, 1 damage off. That sucks a lot. So he's gonna go ahead and take the knockout here. I am gonna go ahead and just Night Stretcher a Ceruledge out, because I discarded a lot of them early and I know I'm gonna have the Night Stretcher out, so I might as well do that now as opposed to grabbing a Fire Energy, which I know are almost all gone anyways, and I'm just clicking the blender immediately and just trying to get rid of as much bad stuff as possible. I know I won't seek any value out of any of these draw supporters at this point, but I will say, one huge misplay I make here, I definitely think I should have done this, is I should have 100% Jet Energy to the Squawk and then used the Squawk attack. That would have been so good, because 1, it puts the energy onto my Ceruledge, and 2, it stops this fucker from taking 30 prizes off of me, and now I have to scramble to possibly get another thing set up here. I know I have a Night Stretcher in the deck, but I can't use any of my draw, so this sucks. This absolutely sucks. I do thankfully hit this Academy at night, which is going to allow me to do the sick thing of stacking a card on top of my deck and preventing me from decking out. But if my opponent has a Stadium bump, then it's just going to be rough for me. I also go ahead and pick up the Squawk. Like I said earlier, should have definitely used the Jet Energy onto it, because then I would have been in a slightly better position. I wouldn't be at the bottom of my deck and lose to a Stadium bump here. Yeah, and I go ahead, take 2 prizes, and now I just have to hope that I can get past his field stuff before he bumps my Stadium. So not the perfect position, but it's what it is, right? We'll live past it. And if I killed the Squawk earlier, I would have still had my other Ceruledge up, which is the part that sucks the most, I think. That, or I would have had the Squawk with the Jet Energy on it, because he could have bossed it. I suppose it's a possibility to even consider, but even then, I'd still much rather take that, because it wouldn't mean I would be at the bottom of my deck. And now that he's put the Stadium down, I'm pretty much all but guaranteed to lose. except that he goes in the Raikou, and I'm flabbergasted. Absolutely, like, what the fuck are you doing here? So he gives me the win after I completely forfeited my win. So, you know, I could have won the game if I had energy into the Squawk earlier, but you know, I probably decided to be generous and give it to me. This is the peak gameplay that you're only gonna see in Arceus rank. Uh, Anyways, here's the last game. I don't even remember so many misplays in this game, man. Like, this video was so hard to make because I kept getting clips. Is like, can I actually use this? And eventually, we got the 6 games. We're playing 6 fucking games on a video, which I don't normally do. We don't normally go to 6. I've only been up to 5. It's normally 3. Usually I get 3 games in a row. It's like, oh, well, those games are pretty good, and we get to upload them. But no, for some reason, we're in Arceus rank, and people just suddenly forget how to play the game. I forget how to play the game. That's it, you know. Genergy is Squawk, you know. I don't think most people would have seen that one coming, right? Just saying. Anyways, my opponent shows a Reverb Room. The whole reason I, you know, kind of made this video is because some cheeky asshole decided to play Reverb Room in his, you know, in his, not Selgor, what the fuck, Armouge deck, and put an Iron Hands into it. So, you know, definitely some stray cards here. So it felt very fitting that I fight an opposing deck with a Reverb Room in it. It's like, yeah, there's no other way this could have ended. I have to put this guy in his place. Much like how I took the Reverb Room out of my deck, I'm gonna make him take the Reverb Room out of his deck because it's so bad it doesn't do anything. He ends up Ultra Balling 2 researches here. Just like, okay, he definitely has more. I think Pal Pad's like stuff back in. So he definitely has another supporter in hand, right? There's no way that he wouldn't. Or he's just really banking on this like Reverb Room value. I'm thankful that he had it attached to the room and then retreat, because it means that the Dorella won't be able to attack this turn, which is perfect for me. One, it means that his side effect that turns off his weakness won't be applied here. But 2 also means I don't lose a Pokemon. It means if I don't hit this Fire Energy here, then I still have the chance to play it. I'm just going to rip this Research immediately, and thankfully I hit the Ultra Ball here. I think I'm just grabbing a Fez just to have something. I was considering between the Greninja, but I think the Fez will get me more value eventually, mostly because I don't really have anything going on, and I just get to do a nuclear amount of damage to this Archaludon here. Drop the cool Ceruledge out of my deck, and you know, this whole video was just me like basically playing 2 entirely separate decks, but also the same deck at a time. I was either a Turbo Hands deck, and I was either like jamming out hands half the time, or I was just trying to like get Ceruledge out. And I think that's like the cool part about this is you just make up, or you just let the deck make up its mind on what the fuck it wants to be today. I mean, who cares about strategy or any of these other things when you can just say, hey deck, what do you want to do today? Oh, you want to give me Iron Hands and double Electric Generator? Well, don't mind if I do. I guess I will just simply take it. You know, there's not much else to be said. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. It's that simple, folks. Anyways, I am gonna go ahead and take the knockout here. Thankfully, with the slightly energy I get to discard my whole hand and hit 300 anyways. So the game is basically over. And, you know, the game is also over, as well as this video, because he's about to concede in a second. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like, enjoy. I hope if you play this deck, you have better luck than me. I don't have anything else to say. You guys have a good night.